First thing I want you to do is line up directly behind the weapon system. So, you know, it's coming right underneath inside your knee. When you lay down on the gun here, you're going to use the rear bag. I don't want you to have pulse on the weapon system. All right, so that means I don't want you to use this hook, all right, because that's applying pulse. I want you to actually utilize the rear bag for your aiming. All right, you don't want a lot of heavy cheek pressure on. I want you to actually lay up here and like you're fixing to go to sleep. That's how much pressure I want on the cheek pad. All right, then, guys, the way I teach most of my guys that I train, we only grip the gun when we're shooting at close ranges. All right, so if I need to actually watch where my bullet's actually hitting at close ranges to where I can't use my normal precision grip, we'll actually go ahead and grip the weapon system. I never wrap my thumb around the backside unless I'm shooting something like an SR.
And just out of curiosity, why is that? Why would you not run your thumb around that grip? Because that's what most people do.
Yeah, it's sympathetic movement. I found that when I was shooting out to 2 grand, we had an 8-foot piece of sheetrock. And when I would wrap my hand, the sympathetic movement as I pulled my trigger finger, my thumb would actually collapse with it a little bit. Okay. And as I did that, I would have some shots on target and some shot would completely miss 8-foot sheetrock.
So there's some inconsistencies in there with what your hand's doing.
Absolutely. And we do the same thing with the palm of our hand. So a lot of times the first thing that you do when you line up your scope, you're going to make sure that your scope is level on target, all right? Because any cant in there will throw the bullet off in that direction of the cant. So a lot of times, most people actually set up their bipods too tight. This one's actually set up real nice. I can set it up, turn it a little bit, let it go, and it'll stay there. You don't want it to where it flops like that left and right and it won't stay up. But what you do want is to where I can adjust it slightly without moving. You don't want it to go, and now it's too much. All right, so you actually loosen it up to where you can turn it a little bit and let it go. What you don't want to do is apply pressure to level your reticle and have to hold that pressure while you're pulling the trigger, right? Because that bullet's going to go somewhere else, because it's going to be real hard to be consistent. And consistency is everything. That's what a ransom rest does for us, right? A ransom rest is a device that we lock a weapon system into, and it applies the same pressure to the weapon system every time to allow the weapon system to actually perform to its capability.
I know lots of school thought for where I came from, and I know Chris has been taught this too, is to torque that thing down as much as possible. So you're basically saying, let the gun tell you what you're doing instead of, let the gun tell you what your body's doing instead of you just fighting the gun, and now you're adding tension.
Yeah, the whole thing with long range precision, we have to allow the weapon system to do what it can do. All right, we don't want to apply any pressures or push any errors that we have into the weapon system. So if I'm having to apply pressure and hold it there, all right, that's going to create inconsistency from shot to shot. But if I can actually set it up properly and then apply the same pressures on the gun every time, I'm just allowing the weapon to do what it can do for whatever accuracy it's capable of.
Well, I think that's two of the big things that have helped me is not torquing the bipods and cheek weld, because I've had some schools of thought say you need to put a lot of cheek pressure into that gun, get it in the pocket, tighten it up as much as possible so you're not letting that gun move. But I think it's actually a little bit easier to let the gun move, so you can see what it's actually doing.
Yeah, absolutely. What we end up doing in teaching long range precision, we'll set up, put our fingertips here on the front of the grip, and then I'll coil up. Once I get on target, I'm looking through and I can see the target, get a natural point of aim. I pull this into my shoulder, so it's the exact same amount of pull every time, starting in this position. Since my upper body's partially coiled up, then we load the bipod till it starts to move, like that.
Loading it forward.
Yeah, I load forward. Now, I've actually tested, like you was talking earlier on cheek weld, right? I've actually tested shooting groups, pushing down hard, barely resting on it, and then the pressure about like here where I'm about to go to sleep, all right? So in all the testing that we did for groups, we found that the same weight that you would actually just lay on it like you were resting is the pressure that actually performed the best. Now, loading the bipods, we did the same thing. You can shoot with a reverse load, you could shoot with a neutral load, or a forward load on the bipod. The problem is we can't be consistent with the reverse load.
Yeah, how
we
much
can't
pressure
tell you,
is
that a neutral load, or is that a neutral load? Is that a neutral load? We don't know. All right, but the same amount of pressure every time, just to where they start to roll out and hold that same amount of pressure each time, that's consistent. Now, you can shoot good groups with a neutral load, all right, but the propensity for flyers is much greater. All right, so we know that with the same pressures applied, every time, we're going to get the consistency that we're looking for. All right, so what we end up doing, to go over it again real quick, once we find the target, we coil up, pull into our shoulder, and then we load with our bipods into the target. And we're same pressure now. Again, like I said earlier, if you're actually shooting something close, the knowledge is everything. You have to know where that bullet hit. You know, you shouldn't have to rely on somebody else telling you where your bullet hit if it's visible. All right, so if it's visible, I want to actually pull in tight like this. I'm still not wrapping my thumb. I'm pulling in tight like this, not applying a lot of pressure sideways, taking the shot, run the bolt, going back down, back on target quickly. But I've obtained the knowledge of where that bullet impacted. I know where I broke the shot, therefore I can make a more knowledgeable second shot correction if needed.
Is there more than one way to load the bipod?
Not really. Well, what I end up doing is actually, as I cool up, I'm doing my preload right here into my shoulder, and now I'm just laying my shoulder into it. What you don't want to do is drive the gun. You don't want to be up on top of the gun here like this and pushing down on it like this. What you really want is to be up underneath the gun, back here with your shoulder, let it ride up in the proper position. Again, this is what we're talking about with different weapon systems. Some are capable of that adjustment and some are not, you know, and we're going to go through those.
Are you driving with your feet or your toes at all?
No, I try not to drive with anything but my back. My back and my shoulders actually push the gun, but as you can see, I'm not trying to push this thing 5 inches. Yeah, all I'm doing is getting the same amount of pressure each time, so I go to that point right there. Now, if you are on concrete, up on top of a building, or you know, with some of the tactical guys, or you're out in the field and you're hunting, you're going to have a different feel, all right, with your bipods. It may be sliding more or not as much. It may be heavy dirt where you can kind of dig in and then push. You need to see where your bullet's going to hit with all different types of loads, because you know you're going to load heavy on some, you're going to load light because you can't load. You may have it on top of a building, set on the back of a vehicle, something like that, to where you can't load into it. Now, if we can, we'd even load into this in an instance like that. But you still need to notice, or you still need to take note and see where your bullets are hitting under all conditions, you know, at 0, at 100 meters.